thousands of years ago, when most of our planet was locked in freezing winds and endless white plains, a magnificent animal thrived in the cold, the woolly mammoth. At first glance, it looked like a giant hairy elephant, but this creature was a masterpiece of evolution, perfectly built for survival in one of the harshest climates Earth has ever seen. The woolly mammoth stood nearly 11 feet tall and weighed more than 6 tons. That's heavier than 2 average cars. Its body was covered with long, thick hair to protect it from the brutal cold, and underneath its skin lay a thick layer of fat, like natural insulation. Its ears were short, smaller than those of modern elephants, so it could trap body heat and stay warm even in icy blizzards. And those massive curved tusks, they were its ultimate tools. Some stretched up to 15 feet long, twisting beautifully like ivory spirals. Mammoths used these tusks to shovel snow aside, dig up buried grass and plants, and even defend themselves from predators. When the land froze solid, those tusks became their lifeline. They roamed across the frozen tundras of Siberia, Alaska, and northern Europe, feeding on grasses and shrubs. For them, snowstorms and freezing winds weren't enemies. They were home. But then, the world changed. As the Ice Age ended, the Earth began to warm. Snow melted, and dense forests started to replace open grasslands. Food became harder to find, and survival became a daily struggle. Around the same time, another creature entered their world: humans. Hunters began targeting mammoths for their meat, bones, and tusks, using them for tools, weapons, and ornaments. Slowly, these giants started disappearing from the face of the earth. By around 4,000 years ago, only a small group survived on Wrangel Island, north of Siberia. But soon, even they vanished. Today, frozen mammoth bodies are still being discovered beneath Siberia's permafrost, their flesh, fur, and DNA perfectly preserved. And now, scientists are attempting something extraordinary: to bring the woolly mammoth back to life. Millions of years ago, long before humans even existed, the oceans were ruled by this unstoppable predator. The Megalodon wasn't just a shark. It was a giant among monsters. According to scientists, it could grow up to 60 feet long, almost the length of 2 city buses parked end to end. It was nearly 3 times bigger than today's great white shark. Its massive body weighed several tons, and its jaws were so large that a human could easily stand inside them. Each of its teeth was around 7 inches long, almost the size of a human hand, sharp, deadly, and designed for tearing through flesh and bone. In fact, it's these teeth that gave scientists their best clues about the Megalodon's size and power. And power, it had plenty of. With a bite force strong enough to crush bones and skulls with ease, Megalodon was the ultimate apex predator, the undisputed ruler of the oceans. It hunted giant whales, seals, and other large sea creatures. Its favorite tactic? A lightning-fast ambush from below, slamming into its prey with a force so powerful that one attack was often enough. In the ancient seas, nothing dared challenge a Megalodon. But even legends have their final chapter. The Megalodon lived between 23 million and 3.6 million years ago, before suddenly disappearing from the oceans forever. As Earth's climate changed, the oceans began to cool. Smaller fish, the main food source for whales, started to vanish. And as the whales migrated to colder regions, Megalodon struggled to follow. Its size, once its greatest strength, became a weakness. Meanwhile, new predators emerged, the ancestors of the great white shark, smaller, faster, and more adaptable. These new hunters began preying on young megalodons, slowly pushing the giants toward extinction. Today, only their massive teeth remain, found in cliffs, riverbeds, and deep-sea sediments around the world. Each fossil is a silent reminder of a time when the oceans belonged to a creature so powerful, so terrifying, that even the great white shark seems small in comparison. A time when the earth was frozen, wild, and filled with creatures we can barely imagine today. In that cold and dangerous world, one predator ruled the land, the Smilodon, better known as the saber-toothed cat. It looked like a lion at first glance, but those massive curved fangs made it unlike anything alive today. Each of those deadly teeth could grow up to 7 inches long, sharp as a dagger and strong enough to pierce through the thick hide of its prey. The Smilodon wasn't just about sharp teeth. It was built like a tank. Its front legs were thick and powerful, designed for grabbing and wrestling huge animals to the ground. Unlike lions or tigers, which chased their prey, the Smilodon preferred stealth. It would hide in tall grass or behind rocks, waiting patiently, and then strike with explosive force. Its preferred prey? The giants of the Ice Age: bison, camels, horses, and even young mammoths. It used its muscular body to tackle its victim, then delivered a precise killing bite to the throat or neck with those legendary fangs. But here's what makes Smilodon so fascinating. Despite its deadly weapons, it wasn't a fast runner. Its body was built for power, not speed. This meant it had to hunt smart, using patience, teamwork, and perfect timing. Smilodon lived across the Americas from about 2.5 million years ago until just 10,000 years ago, making it one of the last great predators of the Ice Age. But as the world warmed, everything changed. The giant animals that Smilodon hunted began to disappear. Forests replaced open plains, and food became scarce. And as humans spread across the land, skilled hunters armed with weapons and fire, even the mighty saber-tooth could not survive. Slowly, this ancient predator vanished. By the end of the Ice Age, the roar of the Smilodon was silenced forever. Today, we know Smilodon through its fossils, skeletons and perfectly preserved bones found in tar pits and caves across North and South America. These remains tell us a powerful story, that Smilodon was not just strong, but intelligent, strategic, and a master of survival in one of Earth's harshest times. Imagine looking up at the sky and not being able to see the sun, not because of clouds, but because of birds. Billions of them, wings beating like thunder, shadows stretching across the land. That's not fantasy. It really happened. Once, the passenger pigeon ruled the skies of North America. There were so many of them, scientists estimate between 3 to 5 billion, that when they migrated, their flocks stretched for miles. Eyewitnesses said a single flock could take hours to pass overhead, turning daylight into dusk. The passenger pigeon was a medium-sized bird, about 16 inches long with a soft blue-gray body, a rosy chest, and a golden shimmer near its neck that glowed in the sunlight. They were fast, incredibly fast, able to fly at 60 miles per hour, traveling in enormous groups across the continent. Their migration was one of the greatest spectacles nature had ever created. But this is not just a story about beauty, it's a story about loss. In the 19th century, humans began hunting passenger pigeons on a massive scale. They were shot, trapped, and even blown out of the sky with cannons. Train cars full of pigeons were sent to cities for food and sport. People believed their numbers were endless, that nothing could ever wipe them out. But they were wrong. Deforestation destroyed their nesting grounds. Hunting wiped out entire colonies. And as the flocks shrank, the pigeon's social system, which depended on huge numbers for protection, began to collapse. By the early 1900s, the bird that once darkened the skies was almost gone. From billions to hundreds, from hundreds to a handful. And then, one. Her name was Martha. She lived alone in the Cincinnati Zoo, the last of her kind. On September 1st, 1914, Martha died quietly in her cage. With her final breath, an entire species vanished from the earth. Thousands of years ago, when the earth was locked in ice, a silent predator ruled the frozen forests and endless plains of Europe and Asia. A lion, but not the kind we know today. Meet the cave lion, or the Eurasian lion, one of the largest and most powerful cats that ever walked the planet. Standing up to 4 feet tall and weighing nearly 400 kilograms, 880 pounds. This Ice Age beast was bigger, stronger, and bulkier than modern lions. Some scientists believe it had little to no mane, giving it a sleek, intimidating look, a hunter built purely for the cold. The cave lion roamed across the tundras and forests of Europe, Russia, and Central Asia. Its prey, massive herbivores like deer, wild horses, bison, and even young mammoths. With strong legs and razor-sharp claws, it relied on stealth and ambush, not speed. A single, well-timed attack, and the hunt was over. Like the Smilodon, the cave lion was an apex predator, a ruler of its age. But what makes its story truly special is not just its power, it's the mark it left behind on human history. Deep inside the ancient caves of France and Spain, archaeologists have discovered paintings, drawn by Ice Age humans over 10,000 years ago, that depict these great lions. The drawings show them hunting, prowling, and standing tall beside mammoths and bison. To those early humans, the cave lion wasn't just an animal, it was a symbol of fear, power, and respect. But then, everything began to change. As the Ice Age ended, Earth's temperature started to rise. The frozen plains turned into forests. The open hunting grounds disappeared, and the herbivores that once filled the land began to vanish. At the same time, humans were spreading fast, hunting the same prey, building settlements, and encroaching on the lion's territory. Competition for food became fierce. The mighty cave lion, once a ruler of the Ice Age, began to lose its throne. Around 14,000 years ago, this powerful predator disappeared forever. No roar, no trace, just silence, and art left behind on stone walls. For centuries, deep inside the forests of Australia, Tasmania, and New Guinea, roamed one of the strangest creatures Earth has ever seen, the Thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger. Despite its name, it wasn't a tiger at all. In fact, it was a marsupial, a distant cousin of the kangaroo and the koala, animals that carry their young in a pouch. Its body looked like a dog's, slim yet muscular, about 4 to 6 feet long including its tail, and weighing nearly 30 kilograms. Across its golden brown back ran dark stripes, like brushstrokes of shadow, the reason it earned the nickname tiger. But the Thylacine was a hunter of the night, a nocturnal predator. It prowled silently through the dark forests, hunting small animals, birds, and sometimes even kangaroos. What made it truly unique was its jaw. It could open to a shocking 120 degrees, almost forming a straight line, powerful enough to catch and crush its prey in seconds. During the day, it hid in caves or bushes, resting in silence. Its movements were awkward, almost ghost-like, slow and deliberate, like a creature that didn't belong to this world. Some even described it as a cross between a fox and a dog. Strange, mysterious, and beautiful. But the Thylacine's story took a dark turn when humans arrived. When European settlers came to Tasmania, they believed these creatures were killing their sheep. Fear turned into hate, and soon, a bounty was placed on every Thylacine head. Farmers and hunters began killing them for money. The population plummeted, and as the forests were cut down to make farms, their homes disappeared too. Diseases brought by dogs spread quickly among the remaining Thylacines, wiping out entire groups. By the early 1900s, the Thylacine was on the brink of extinction. In 1936, the last known living Thylacine was held in the Hobart Zoo in Tasmania. That winter, due to neglect and freezing cold, it died, alone, behind metal bars. Its death marked the end of a species that had survived for millions of years. Since that day, no confirmed sighting of a Thylacine has ever been recorded. On a paradise island surrounded by blue seas and lush jungles, there once lived a hunter so fierce and graceful that even the shadows feared him. But today, he exists only in whispers. The Bali tiger. Once, on the Indonesian island of Bali, a unique subspecies of tiger ruled the forests. The Bali tiger, Panthera tigris balica, was the smallest of all tiger species, yet it was the most feared predator on the island. Adult males weighed around 100 kilograms, 220 pounds, while females were slightly lighter at about 80 kilograms, 175 pounds. Their bodies shimmered with a deep orange coat, covered in bold black stripes. And those eyes, bright, alert, and full of cunning, made this tiger the very spirit of the wild. Despite its smaller size, the Bali tiger was lightning fast and remarkably stealthy. It hunted in the dense forests, stalking deer, wild boar, and smaller animals with quiet precision. When it attacked, it struck with such speed that its prey never even had time to run. To the people of Bali, this tiger wasn't just an animal. It was a symbol of strength, courage, and divine power. Many local legends describe the tiger as a guardian of the island, protecting the balance of nature. But as the 20th century began, that balance shattered. When European settlers arrived in Bali, they began clearing forests for farms, villages, and plantations. The island's dense jungle, the home of the tiger, started to vanish. And as forests fell, the tigers lost both their habitat and their prey. Soon, fear turned to conflict. Villagers began hunting the tigers, believing they were dangerous. European hunters saw them as trophies, rare prizes from a faraway land. The population crashed, faster than anyone could imagine. By the 1930s, sightings of the Bali tiger became rare, and then they stopped altogether. The last known tiger was believed to have been shot in 1937, ending the story of a creature that had ruled Bali's jungles for thousands of years. Today we talked about creatures who once owned this earth, who ruled the forests, the oceans, and the skies. But time wiped them out. Not in war, not in disease, but rather through a changing climate and the reckless pursuit of humanity. Once, woolly mammoths shook the ice caps. Megalodons terrorized the oceans. Smilodons roared in the jungles. But now all these are just old bones, pictures, and stories. The earth changes. Seasons change. And with them, creatures change or even disappear. But the question is, are we humans repeating the mistakes that time has already taught us? Every time a forest is cut down, every time a river dries up, or when we eliminate a species, somewhere another story ends. Another Bali tiger is gone. These extinct animals remind us of just one thing, that no one lives forever on this earth. Neither strength, nor size, nor status, only the balance of nature endures. This was the story of creatures that once lived. Now only we remain. And this echo of time, which says, "Be careful, or history will repeat itself."